In Germany, ongoing conversations about homosexuality and the church. German Cardinal Reinhard Marx has been outspoken about changing the church's teaching. Recently, the cardinal claimed that the Catechism is not set in stone and that the church should be more inclusive. And joining me now is A.C. Wimmer, editor-in-chief of CNA Deutsch. A.C., welcome back. Always so good to see you. Let's talk a little bit more about the comments from Cardinal Marx and the German Church's growing interest in changing the Catechism, specifically when it comes to sexuality. What can you tell us?
There was a lovely spread, 7 pages of it, in one of the most popular magazines in Germany, the Star magazine, Tracy. And Cardinal Marx was photographed amply and was also able to talk about a number of contentious issues, in particular one that he's been bringing to the prominence publicly a lot lately, celebrating a queer mass in Germany just recently, and that is homosexuality. He pronounced that, according to him, homosexuality was in fact not a sin, that for him theology was about a primacy of love, and that he thought the Catechism needed changing, needed adapting to what was an adapting understanding of the teachings of the Church on his view.
And AC, a priest who ministers to people who are homosexual or same-sex attracted, sent a letter to the German cardinals asking them to abide by the Church's teaching on sexuality. Can you talk to us more about that letter and what's been the reaction?
Yeah, sure. The executive director of Courage International, an apostolate that specifically deals and serves people who experience same-sex attraction, wrote a letter, a seminal letter, I might add, in terms of its reactions so far, to both Cardinal Marx and another prominent prelate, the Archbishop of Luxembourg, a small country between Germany, Belgium, and other parts of Europe up there, the Benelux states, they call them. And this is Cardinal Hollerich, Jean-Claude Hollerich, who is also playing an important role in the European Bishops' Conference and in the upcoming Synod on Synodality as a relator, a general relator, secretary, if you like. Both cardinals have pronounced, not just Cardinal Marx, the Archbishop of Munich and Freising, that homosexuality is, according to them, no longer a sin, and the Church's teaching should adapt to recognize this and put in place a number of changes. What Father Philip Bokansky of Courage International has asked them to do in a very open and sincere letter that we published in a number of languages on CNA and CNA Deutsch in a German translation and others, is to remind them kindly and ask them to stick to the oath that they as bishops are held to, have spoken out to keep and to protect, which is of course an oath to uphold the teachings of the Church. In fact, the creed of the Church and everything that is to do with what is, after all, predicated on Holy Scripture, tradition, and the magisterium of the Church. And that includes the teaching on sexuality as it is described in the Catechism so far. Father Bokansky makes the point that, in fact, it is quite open and clear how the Catechism teaches on this by drawing on Scripture heavily to emphasize that this is, in fact, a scripturally embedded mystery of the Church. And in particular, this heartfelt but also theologically very grounded argument is something that, in terms of the reactions so far that we're seeing just by publishing it in German today, Tracy, is enormous. So many people have started picking it up, sharing it on social media, and it has sparked an enormous amount of debate, but also just gratitude by a number of Catholics, amongst our readers in particular, I might add, who have been waiting, apparently, for someone to simply point this out in a kind and also in a very faithful manner.
And before I let you go, AC, I know there's so much going on in Germany right now. Another thing I want to talk about is the Federation of German Catholic Youth, an organization of Catholic children's and youth associations supporting abolishing that ban on advertising abortions in Germany. What more can you tell us about that?
So this was not quite as surprising as it might seem to people, given earlier pronouncements made by this umbrella organization, the Federation or Federal Catholic Youth Organization, Tracy, namely saying that there needs to be access to abortion across all of Germany at any time, simply for women to make an informed choice. We spoke to one bishop who previously has been quite outspoken on these issues, but he was not willing to comment publicly about it. In the meantime, however, luckily another bishop has come forward who also heads up the youth commission, the youth work of the German Bishops' Conference, and has pointed out that this is not exactly the right view to take, although he's very polite in his criticism.
And AC, we probably have maybe 30 seconds left or so, but what else are you following right now in Germany?
Well, just before we started speaking, and thanks for the opportunity, Tracy, I spoke to one German diocese that has granted a biological female who identifies as a transsexual man the faculties to teach Catholic religion to school classes. This is a bigger issue that we're investigating at the moment, and we hope to report on in the coming hours or perhaps by tomorrow.
Okay, well, we will continue following that. AC, thank you so much for all of your great work. We appreciate it.